Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're settling in for a conversation that really proves something interesting.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Well, that you can actually tap into some seriously profound, like universe-altering knowledge, even when you're just completely exhausted
Right.
and maybe, battling a house cat and basically just dreaming of bedtime.
Huh. Yeah, if you've ever tried to keep up a spiritual practice when you're running on fumes, well, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Exactly.
It's the perfect mood, actually. We're looking at a session that's somehow both like deep metaphysics and almost a sitcom episode.
Totally. Where are we pulling this from today?
We are digging into the original handwritten records for session 39 of the early sessions, book 1 of Seth material. And this one took place way back on Monday, March 30th, 1964 at 9 p.m.
1964. Wow. So our mission then is to kind of filter through these really unique notes. We want to pull out the big ideas, right? The advanced concepts like the 6th and 7th inner senses. But also we got to appreciate the setting. The charming, maybe slightly chaotic, and super tired vibe surrounding the whole thing.
Couldn't put it better. We're looking for the structure, the breakthrough ideas, and, yeah, the very human and feline element.
And just quickly before we jump in, we should mention this deep dive, like all of them, is put out completely free of charge on all major platforms. It's purely for educational purposes.
Absolutely. Making this knowledge accessible is key.
Okay, so let's set the scene. What makes this session so memorable? We've mentioned tired. How tired are we talking?
Oh, seriously tired. The main players, Jane, who we often call Ruburt, her inner name, and Joseph, or Ruburt, they were completely spent.
Right.
They just changed their schedule, getting up earlier, had just finished supper with company. The notes are super clear. They were quite tired.
So tired they almost didn't do it.
Pretty much. Reluctant is the word used. They only went ahead because they really didn't want to break their routine.
That's discipline.
It really is. And that fatigue, it's not just color, It's crucial context. Pushing through that consistency is maybe why the connection held.
That makes sense. Like, the commitment itself strengthens the link, even when the physical energy is low.
Exactly. They knew that being inconsistent could mess with the whole process, the energetic connection needed for these talks.
Okay, so picture this. It's 9 p.m. Jane tried to take a nap, didn't happen.
Nope. Failed nap attempt.
They're sitting there probably debating, should we just skip it tonight? Seth later calls them two tired bears.
Aha! Yes, he does.
You can just feel the effort it took just to sit down and start.
And that's where Seth, the non-physical entity, comes in and just immediately gets it. He doesn't launch into some big lecture.
No,
he addresses the mood straight away, acknowledges the weariness, with compassion, but also this amazing wit.
He knew exactly what they were thinking, didn't he? That opening line is perfect.
It really is. It captures their hope that maybe, just maybe, he'd give them the night off.
Was it again?
He says, never have I been so eagerly awaited and met with such high hopes that I will call off the session.
Huh. That's brilliant. So observational. He totally knew they wanted him not to show up.
Exactly. And he validates it. Right away, he says, I will, under the circumstances, give you a short session.
Okay, so a compromise.
A compromise, yeah. But he makes the main point clear. He reinforces why they need to stick with it, saying, however, as yet, it is not a good idea to miss a session.
So quality over quantity for tonight, but keep the habit going.
Precisely. Regularity is key at this stage.
Okay, so they agree on a short session, but then things get interesting. Right. This is where the dissociation happens and the cat gets involved.
The shift is immediate, like bam. Jane stands up, her whole demeanor changes, eyes darken, voice gets stronger. She's fully channeling Seth.
And in that sudden movement,
she accidentally dumps Willy, the cat, onto the floor.
Willy the cat. Okay.
Oh.
Enter the feline element.
And Willy, well, he was clearly not thrilled. Imagine, you're comfy on your person, and suddenly the energy signature changes drastically and you get tossed.
Yeah, I can see how that might be upsetting for a cat.
Upsetting is putting it mildly. What follows is described as this really focused, almost aggressive attempt by Willy to reconnect physically.
While Jane is channeling Seth.
While Jane as Seth is pacing back and forth, dictating these complex ideas, Joseph's notes mention hearing Willy's claws on her clothes, loud meows.
That's just pure chaos.
Yeah.
High metaphysics meets domestic drama.
Totally. And you have to wonder, right? We know from Seth's other teachings that animals, especially cats, are super sensitive to energy fields.
So was Willy just being annoying, or was he actually reacting to the strength of the Seth energy coming through Jane?
I think it's definitely the latter. We get confirmation later, but yeah, the cat is like an energy barometer.
Okay.
When Seth comes through, especially strongly, he's using Jane's energy field intensely. To Willy, his familiar person, his anchor, suddenly feels wrong. Alien, maybe.
So the clinging wasn't aggression. It was like panic, trying to stabilize things.
Exactly that. An instinctual reaction to this massive energetic shift. He's trying to physically ground something that feels psychically unstable to him.
Wow. Okay, so how does this play out? Does Jane just keep dictating with a cat attached to her leg?
Almost. She tries shaking him off, but Willy is persistent. The notes say he finally succeeded in anchoring himself upon one of Jane's legs.
Oh my goodness.
So Jane, or rather Seth, through Jane, while in this deep state of dissociation that needs incredible focus, has to pause.
Pause the cosmic dictation.
Pause the cosmic dictation. Physically detach the determined cat, toss him into the bathroom, and shut the door.
No way.
Yes way.
Yeah.
And apparently she does this without breaking the dissociation state. It's just this perfect, almost surreal blend of the profoundly spiritual and the ridiculously mundane.
The image is just unforgettable. Deep thoughts interrupted by cat wrangling.
It really grounds the whole thing, doesn't it? Shows these aren't abstract sessions happening in some void. It's real life.
Absolutely. Okay, so cat crisis momentarily averted, bathroom door closed. What happens next? Does Seth just pick up where he left off?
Pretty much, yeah. But interestingly, right after this chaotic moment, he shifts gears again. He pivots to these really specific personal encouragements for Joseph.
Ah, okay. Like bringing it back down to earth after the cat incident.
Exactly. It feels deliberate. Like, okay, let's ground this back in your everyday reality. He affirms their outer lives, showing the inner self is totally aware of their day-to-day stuff.
What kind of stuff?
Two things specifically about Joseph's career. First, he addresses a recent decision Joseph made about his day job, something Joseph called his outside work compromise.
And Seth approved.
He did. He says, I think you will find your present decision, Joseph, to be a good one. That is, your outside work compromise.
Wow, that must have been huge for Joseph to get that kind of validation.
Immense, I imagine. Think about the struggle balancing making a living with finding time for his art in these demanding sessions. Getting a thumbs up from, well, Seth on that specific practical decision, that's powerful reinforcement.
Yeah, no kidding. What was the second thing?
The second was about Joseph's art. He congratulates him on winning an award for a portrait.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, an egg tempera portrait he'd submitted somewhere. Seth notes, also, Ruburt's conscious mind is quite merry over your portrait award.
Ah, that's nice. Showing Jane was happy for him, too.
It is. But then Seth immediately adds this layer of deeper meaning. Right after the congratulations, he calls the award-winning portrait a camouflage construction.
Okay, camouflage construction. That sounds significant. He doesn't explain it right then, does he?
No, he defers it, says they'll get into it next time. But for us, looking at the bigger picture of Seth's ideas, what do you think that term implies?
Well, camouflage environment is usually physical reality, right? The
Right.
world we see and touch.
Right.
So maybe a camouflage construction is like, Joseph didn't just paint a picture of reality. He built a little piece of reality, like manifesting an inner idea into physical form so perfectly, it fits right into our world.
I think that's a fantastic way to put it. It's suggesting the art isn't just representation, it's an actual structure. A physical object, yes, but one that embodies or translates a deeper, non-physical pattern or energy.
So the award wasn't just for good technique. It was for successfully making an inner reality visible and, like, acceptable in the physical world, giving it the right camouflage.
Precisely. It connects his everyday creative work directly to these deep metaphysical concepts. It's saying, we see the real structure behind what you made.
That's really cool. And it all ties back to the purpose of this short session, right?
Absolutely. Seth is very clear about it. Because they're not up to par this evening, he says this session is mainly to provide an outline for our next session.
So it's like a setup episode. Here's the blueprint for what's coming.
Exactly. He manages their expectations due to the fatigue, but also promises more later. He reassures them, says the tiredness is temporary, just merely the change in circumstances, and the effect will not last.
Okay, so after the personal stuff, the setup, Does he actually give them the outline? Does he get into the new concept?
He does. This is where we move from the grounding points into the real meat of the session, even though it's brief. He starts outlining the inner senses, beginning with the sixth.
The sixth inner... Okay, what's the core idea here? He calls it the instincts of the inner self.
Yeah, and that sounds simple, but the scope is just mind-blowing. What the sense deals with, according to Seth, is the innate knowledge of the universe in its entirety.
Wait, entirety, like everything?
Everything. All knowledge, the whole cosmic blueprint, all realities, potentials, consciousness. It's not learned, it's innate, part of the fundamental nature of the inner self, the entity that we are, beyond this one personality.
Okay, hold on. If the inner self, which is us, deep down knows everything, why are we, here and now, so clueless most of the time? Why do we feel so limited?
Ugh, the million-dollar question, and Seth provides the answer. It's the distribution system. Or you could call it a necessary filter.
A filter.
Yeah. The inner self holds the complete data bank, but only specific portions of that data get delivered or activated for the living organism, the personality in physical reality.
Like getting only certain files from the cloud.
That's a good analogy. The inner self is the whole internet, all the source code. The personality is running a very specific app designed for one particular job, navigating physical life.
So we don't get the master key, just the key card for this one building. Why, though? Why the specialization? What's the deal with this camouflage environment that needs it?
The camouflage environment is this physical reality, dense, predictable, seemingly objective. It requires specialized data because our purpose here is to interact, create, and experience within its specific rules. Seth says it's to make manipulation in a specific area possible.
Manipulation meaning focused action, choice, living.
Exactly. Living within the apparent constraints of time, space, cause, and effect. If we had the full data set active all at once,
it would be chaos.
Total overload. Imagine perceiving all time simultaneously, all locations at once, the boundaries between objects dissolving.
Right.
Focused experience, making a choice, it would be impossible. The specialization allows us to function here.
So things like linear time, solid objects, gravity, those are features of our specialized data packet.
That's the idea. They are the parameters given to us for this specific game or experience. They feel like fundamental laws, but they're actually characteristics of the data set we're running.
Yeah, it makes the specialization sound less like a prison and more like necessary software for this reality.
Right. It's essential for sanity and function here. Seth stresses the data is extremely specialized but very complete within its scope. Meaning it's focused on physical reality, but it gives us everything we need to operate fully within that focus. It's the perfect, complete instruction set for this environment.
But does that mean we're just running a program? Where does free will or growth come in if we're limited by this data set?
Great question. It seems the answer is twofold. One, the limitation is on the personality for this specific experience, not the entity, which remains unlimited. Two, the sixth sense itself, that instinct, is the very way we access relevant data beyond the basic programming.
Ah, okay. So intuition, gut feelings, sudden insights. That's the sixth sense feeding us extra data from the main database when needed.
Precisely. It's the inner self overriding the standard operating system with crucial info that bypasses logic. Like knowing which road to take instinctively. The core knowledge is always there. The specialized data just keeps our main attention on the physical here and now.
So every living thing has its own specialized sixth sense data. A bird knows migration patterns. A plant knows how to find sun.
Perfect analogy. Each gets the complete data for its scope. The bird doesn't need human language, but it has total innate knowledge for its specific way of being in the physical world. And maybe the laws of physics themselves are just the data characteristics applied universally within this reality frame.
Wow. Realizing our whole solid reality might just be a specialized data stream from our own inner selves. That really shifts perspective, doesn't it?
It makes the world feel less concrete, maybe, but also more purposeful. Like it's perfectly designed for the experience we're meant to have here.
Okay, that's the sixth sense, specialized innate knowledge filtered for physical life. What about the seventh? This one sounds even stranger.
It is. The seventh inner sense isn't just about accessing data. It's about actively changing the boundaries of the self. And Seth connects it to this weird little experience Jane had right before the session started.
What kind of experience?
The notes describe it as a strange sensation, which Seth calls a taste of our seventh inner sense, but only a small portion.
A taste. How does it happen?
It was Ruburt Jane's inner self trying to do what she does best. translate inner data into something the outer senses could grasp, an attempt to bridge that gap. And she got this startling glimmer of what's possible.
So what is possible? What does the seventh sense do? Seth mentions two directions.
Yeah, two directions, and they seem totally opposite. The first one feels more familiar, maybe. Direction one is enlargement or an opening up and extension of the self.
Like expanding consciousness.
Exactly. A widening of the boundaries of the self, which leads to wider understanding. You feel less separate, more connected to everything, maybe the planet or consciousness itself. Transcendence, basically.
Okay, feeling bigger, more connected. That makes sense as a spiritual ability. But direction two is the weird one.
That's the real mind bender. Yeah, it's the contrary movement. Like pulling together of the self into an ever smaller and more minute capsule.
Getting smaller. Like shrinking your awareness? Why?
It sounds counterintuitive, right? But the purpose Seth gives is incredible. This extreme condensation, this focus into a tiny point, allows the self to enter into other fields and experience various rather alien planes.
Whoa. So you shrink down to travel between dimensions.
That seems to be the implication. Expansion lets you grasp the totality of this system. Contraction lets you become concentrated enough, maybe change your energetic frequency enough to slip out of this system and into a completely different one, an alien plane.
How would that even work? If you contract your whole self into a tiny point, wouldn't you lose yourself? Forget who you are.
That's the potential danger, I think. The inner self always knows, but for the personality trying to do this, maintaining that anchor while achieving such intense focus must be incredibly difficult. Seth himself sounds surprised. Jane stumbled onto it, saying it's usually a rather difficult ability to attain.
So it takes serious practice.
Apparently, he says Jane, or Ruburt, handled the initial feeling well. She went along with it, which is very good, but she didn't hold it.
Didn't hold it long enough for what?
Long enough to distinguish the other tissue capsules which came within his own extended awareness.
Tissue capsules. Okay, it's another one of those Seth terms. What on earth are tissue capsules?
He doesn't elaborate much here, drops it like another cliffhanger for the next session. But based on the context entering alien planes, what do you think they could be?
If the seventh sense lets you manipulate your boundaries to perceive or enter other realities, maybe the tissue capsules are the boundaries of those other realities, or like little bubbles of different kinds of existence.
That's a very plausible interpretation. They could be the structural membranes separating different planes, or maybe localized fields of consciousness, distinct energy structures that are alien to ours, things Jane's awareness just brushed up against during that brief expansion.
So expansion lets you sense these other capsules, and contraction is the key to actually getting inside one.
That seems to be the model he's outlining here. And he says explicitly, I have said little about these tissue capsules, however, they will also be held for the next session.
Confirming again the setup, the structural outline, giving them the vocabulary for deeper dives later.
Exactly. It's a roadmap for some really advanced psychic territory, delivered efficiently because they were tired. Focus on the structure, fill in the details when you're fresh.
Amazing. Okay, so we've gone from tired bears and cats to specialized data and interdimensional travel via self-contraction. Quite the range for a short session.
It really is. But we can't end without circling back to the cat.
Right. Willy, locked in the bathroom. Does Joseph ask about him?
He does. After all this high-level stuff, Joseph brings it right back to the practical disruption. What happened with the cat tonight?
And what's Seth's official explanation? Does it match our energy barometer theory?
Perfectly. Seth says, your lovely old pussycat really sensed my presence this evening. He confirms Willy wasn't just being difficult.
So the cat was reacting to the energy.
Directly. Seth explains he came in, so to speak, extremely strong, precisely because the session was going to be brief and he had important structural points to deliver quickly.
And that strong, sudden energy influx just overwhelmed Willy.
Exactly. It wasn't malice from Willy, just confusion and maybe a bit of sensory overload from the intense shift in his familiar person's energy field. Seth puts it very simply and kind of sweetly.
He just didn't know what had happened to his Ruburt, that is all.
Poor Willy. Just trying to figure things out.
Yep. It gives a really logical, compassionate reason for the chaotic moment.
And the final piece of the puzzle, the post-session notes. What happened when they let Willy out of the bathroom?
The notes say Jane came out of the trance immediately, fully back to herself.
Yeah.
And Willy, once released, he displayed no upset at all.
Really? Just back to normal?
Instantly. Started rubbing up against Jane's leg, purring, The familiar energy was back, the intense Seth presence was gone, and the cat was perfectly content again.
That's the perfect ending to the Willy saga. The sensitive barometer confirmed the energy shift, both coming and going.
It truly is a beautiful illustration of how the most profound and the most mundane aspects of life are completely intertwined in this work. So what a session. Short, yes, born out of exhaustion, interrupted by a cat. But it laid down the framework for some incredibly advanced ideas.
Absolutely. We got the sixth sense, the specialized data filter for physical reality. And the seventh sense, this dual ability to expand consciousness and contract the self for exploring other realities, these alien planes potentially contained within tissue capsules.
It really shows that deep dives don't always have to be long. Sometimes focused intensity is key. And it's a testament to Jane and Joseph's discipline, sticking with it even when they felt wiped out.
Definitely. Seth acknowledges their effort right at the end, telling them, "You are doing well nevertheless."
But he also gives that little reality check, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. The final sign-off maintains the perspective. Your limitations are far greater than mine. A gentle reminder of the vastness of the knowledge still to explore.
Keeps them humble, keeps them reaching.
Exactly. And for you, listening, we really hope you'll continue exploring this material. It's so rich.
Where should people go if they want to read Session 39 or others for themselves?
The best place is to dive into the Seth material books themselves, especially the early session series. And you can find those and support the work by visiting the publisher, New Awareness Network. Their website and bookstore are at sethcenter.com/early sessions.
Great, so check that out. Now, as always, we like to leave you with something to chew on, a final thought to mull over.
Okay, so building on today's session, we talked about the sixth sense giving us the specialized data needed to operate here in this physical camouflage environment.
Right, the instruction manual for Reality 1.0.
And the seventh sense, through contraction, potentially allows entry into completely different realities, these alien planes. So the provocative thought is this. If this reality requires such specific filtered data to navigate, what kind of entirely new specialized data sets would be needed to function in those alien planes? And how does the self, upon contracting and entering one, instantaneously acquire and operate with a completely different rulebook, a whole new physics, maybe even a different sense of identity?
Wow. Like downloading a new operating system on the fly the moment you cross a dimensional threshold. How does the self know which data package to load for which tissue capsule it enters?
Exactly. What governs that selection and integration of fundamentally different knowledge systems? That's something to really ponder. How flexible is consciousness? And what determines the rules of any given plane of existence?
Okay, my brain hurts a little now. In a good way. That's definitely something to think about. Understanding the mechanics of shifting between reality systems. Fascinating.
It opens up huge questions about the nature of reality itself, something to explore further, maybe when we get to the session where Seth does explain those tissue capsules.
We'll look forward to that. Thank you for joining us on this rather unique deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and may your own explorations be vast, even on tired days.